The man lay on the ground and ate the insect on the back of his hand without a care. They were primitive North Europeans from 20,000 years ago, and they hadn't eaten for days. The Earth was rich in biodiversity back then. But for these early humans, finding food was no easy task. They often had to pay a heavy price to obtain food. Tao led the men of the tribe for a month before finally finding fresh bison dung. To mask their scent, they smeared the dung all over their bodies and even on their weapons. Once camouflaged, they crawled towards the bison herd. Tao signaled the group to stop. The tribe's survival through the winter depended on this hunt. With a roar, everyone charged at the bison herd, which in turn charged at the humans. If there is a head-on collision, fragile humans will definitely be no match for the bison herd. So, at the right distance, the humans threw their spears, not to kill the bison, but to make them retreat. This tactic was effective. Led by the leading bison, all the cattle turned around and rushed towards the cliff. As humans chased frantically, the first cow fell off the cliff, followed by more bison falling off the cliff. Fortunately, the bison at the back realized the danger and scattered. At this moment, one particularly angry bison chose to fight back against the humans. Its target was a boy on his first hunt. Tao was especially agitated watching this because the boy was his son, Kada. The bison quickly knocked Kada down and hooked his clothes with its horns. Kada was immobilized, helplessly being pushed towards the cliff by the bison. Tao threw his spear with all his might, hitting the bison, but it didn't stop. At the cliff's edge, the bison threw Kada off the cliff in revenge for its herd. The tribesmen rushed to the edge of the cliff and saw Kada holding onto the cliff with one hand. Tao told Kada not to look down and to hold on. Kada obeyed, but the small rock he was holding onto gave way, and he continued to fall. Kada! Kada! He kept colliding with the protrusions on the cliff and finally fell onto a small platform halfway up the cliff. Tao looked at Kada halfway up the mountain and wanted to go down to rescue him without thinking. The tribesmen quickly pulled Tao back. They understand his feelings as a father, but this will only cost Tao his life. Besides, Tao is still the chief of the tribe, and the tribesmen will still need his leadership in the future. The next day, the tribe began processing the bison at the bottom of the cliff, taking the hides and meat back to the village, while Tao continued to call out from the cliff's edge. Until dark, Kada still did not respond. The clan persuaded Tao to accept reality, and in accordance with tradition they drew various designs on the stones and arranged them in a small stone pile, in front of which Tao knelt and wept bitterly. He regretted not listening to his wife. If Kada hadn't come on the hunt, things would be different, but time couldn't be turned back. After scattering a handful of yellow earth, completing the final ritual, Tao left in pain. As the sun set, the bison carcasses at the bottom of the cliff attracted numerous vultures. One vulture flew straight towards Kada, pecking him awake. Kada grabbed the vulture's neck, slammed it against the rock wall, and threw it down the cliff. Awake, Kada panicked upon seeing his surroundings. Realizing he was still alive, he faced a new problem: how to get back to the ground. Kada first called out loudly for help, and when no one responded, he decided to try climbing down. But he hadn't climbed far when he lost his footing and was left hanging in midair, unable to move up or down. At that moment, the weather changed abruptly, with dark clouds gathering and heavy rain starting to fall. The rain intensified, and the water level at the bottom of the cliff rose rapidly. Kada was barely holding on, knowing that every second he held on, the water below would get deeper. Looking down, he couldn't hold on any longer and let go, falling straight into the floodwaters below. After a night of thunder and lightning, Kada survived, but the danger was far from over. The impact of the fall had broken his leg, making it impossible to walk. He crawled to the edge of the pool and drank some muddy water. Kada took off his shoe and found his foot swollen. He then began to treat his injuries. Kada walked slowly towards the top of the cliff, and it took him half a day to reach the top, where he saw the pile of stones that the tribesmen had piled up for him. This meant that his father and the tribe had left. Kada angrily kicked over the stone pile, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, he heard a few wolf howls nearby. Turning around, he saw several wolves on a distant hillside watching him. Dragging his injured leg, Kada ran desperately until he found a dead tree. He climbed up the tree and spent the night listening to the wolves' howls. The next day, he found a water source and some food. Just then, the wolf pack arrived. Charging straight at Kada, Kada runs desperately towards the dead tree, and when he's halfway up, a wolf bites him in the boot. Kada pulled out his stone knife and attacked the wolf directly, then quickly climbed up the tree. Thus, man and wolves faced off for the entire night. When Kada woke up again, he found the wolf pack had dispersed, leaving only the injured wolf lying on the ground. Kada tied his stone knife to a stick, preparing to kill the wolf. He raised his weapon above his head, listening to the wolf's miserable howl, and suddenly remembered the time when he was trapped in midair on the cliff. Perhaps the wolf's companions also thought it wouldn't survive, so they left. Kada decided to save the wolf. But every time he reached out, the wolf glared at him fiercely. Looking at the rope, Kada had an idea. While the wolf wasn't paying attention, he tied its mouth shut. He then carried it to the lake to clean its wounds. Soon, they attracted hyenas, so he carried the wolf to a cave. He recalled his father's actions and tried to make fire by rubbing two sticks together, but he failed. The next day, when he opened his eyes, he saw the injured wolf watching him. He went out to find some herbs and applied them to his swollen, injured foot. The wolf had already untied the rope from its mouth. Kada poured some water and cautiously approached, offering it to the wolf. The wolf bared its teeth at Kada, as if ready to pounce at any moment. Sensing that Kada meant no harm, the wolf eventually calmed down. Kada smiled for the first time since falling off the cliff. Due to his injured leg, Kada struggled to find decent food. He resorted to eating small insects and even shared some with the wolf. Things didn't seem so bad anymore. Kada caught a rabbit and prepared to roast it over a fire. The wolf sneaked up to steal the rabbit. As a result, he was knocked aside by Kada, who bit off a piece of rabbit meat to assert his sovereignty. This time, he successfully lit the fire, and the smell of roasting meat filled the air. The wolf made noises, reminding Kada that it was hungry too. Kada told the wolf that he was the one who had the final say and that it could eat only after he had finished eating the meat. After reaching a consensus, the wolf also ate the roasted rabbit. At night, man and wolf sat at the cave entrance, with the wolf howling at the moon. Kada knew that the wolf was homesick, and Kada's foot was almost healed. He raised his right hand to the sky, aligning the pattern on his hand with the stars. He knew that following that direction would lead him back to his parents. This was the first time a human and a wolf hunted together. The wolf looked at the man who had been knocked over by a wild boar and turned to leave. Kada quickly opened his palm. Tempted by the food, the wolf reluctantly turned back, and they finally ate the roasted meat. The wolf also became willing to get close to Kada. At dawn, the wolf licked Kada furiously. Its affection made Kada happy, but the wolf smelled terrible. So, the next moment, Kada threw it into the river. They caught several fish, and Kada named his new companion Alpha. His father had told him that the leader of a wolf pack was called Alpha. Winter arrived, and everything was covered in white. At night, they rested by the fire, and Alpha suddenly stood up, staring intently into the darkness. Kada became alert as well, seeing a black wolf emerge from the shadows. The black wolf glared at Kada but became calm and gentle when looking at Alpha. Alpha approached the black wolf, showing affection, and the black wolf disappeared back into the darkness. Kada understood that Alpha wanted to go home. With his permission, Alpha also vanished into the darkness. Kada was once again alone, walking through the snowstorm. He whistled and kept looking back, hoping Alpha would suddenly appear. Kada missed Alpha dearly but kept telling himself that Alpha had gone home. A person's journey is difficult. One day, Kada saw a pack of wolves gathered together in the snow. Thinking something had happened to Alpha, he ran towards them, but he ran too fast and didn't notice the ice beneath him cracking. Alpha rushed over to save Kada, but it couldn't break the ice. Kada took out his stone knife and stabbed at the ice, but the knife slipped from his hand. He grabbed the knife and broke through the ice, and Alpha quickly pulled him out. Kada hurried to the shore, started a fire, and stripped off his clothes. He held Alpha and used the fire to dry his clothes and his body. Kada survived but fell ill. He began coughing up blood and grew weaker by the day. He found an abandoned tent but no food inside. He only found a bow and arrow. After leaving, they encountered a terrible snowstorm, and the hyenas were chasing them. To escape, they ran into a cave. The hyenas didn't follow, but that didn't mean they were safe. Alpha quickly sensed danger. It bared its teeth at the other side of the cave, and a saber-toothed tiger emerged. The saber-toothed tiger charged at Kada, but Alpha leaped to intercept it. Alpha was no match for the saber-toothed tiger. Kada had to protect his companion, aiming his bow at the tiger, but the tiger moved too fast, and he feared hitting Alpha. After the saber-toothed tiger fell, Alpha walked towards Kada, but after a few steps, it collapsed. Alpha was severely injured, covered in blood. They ate the saber-toothed tiger's meat and set off again, knowing that stopping meant death. In the blizzard, both man and wolf reached their physical limits. Alpha collapsed in the snow, and Kada, seeing Alpha near death, picked it up and continued. At night, Kada couldn't hold on any longer. He comforted himself, saying he would only sleep for a little while. He dreamed of the night before he and his father set out to hunt. His father reassured his mother, saying Kada was stronger than they thought. The dream jolted Kada awake. He couldn't fall here. Kada picked up Alpha and kept moving. He didn't know if Alpha was alive or dead. When Kada appeared at the tribe, everyone was shocked. Tao couldn't believe his eyes. He cried tears of joy when he touched his son's hand, and the family hugged tightly. Kada pointed to Alpha, urging his parents to save it. When Kada woke up again, Alpha was safe but still weak. The tribe's healer sensed something unusual in the wolf's belly. Moments later, she held up a wolf pup. Alpha had been pregnant all along, a true miracle of life. The wolf pup became a member of the tribe. The wolf pups grew strong, always staying by Alpha and Kada's side. Many years later, every member of the tribe had a wolf companion, and to this day, Alpha's descendants remain our most loyal partners.